All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Sarah. I'm pretty excited. It's my first ever Wired for Wonder, so really happy to be here. Really happy to share with you my passion for protecting the environment, particularly our oceans. So my presentation today is going to explain how me and my team at Take 3 for the Sea have built a global movement to save the oceans. And we're going to learn a lot about the importance of the oceans and the importance of our individual actions in contributing towards a sustainable future for our planet. Now, I heard the theme for this presentation today was imagine. So to start off proceedings, I want us all to imagine we're out on a beautiful beach. We're standing there where the ocean meets the land, and we're looking out towards this big, blue, vast sea. And to really put us there, I'd like us to take in a huge, deep breath together. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Let it out. Oh my God, that felt so good. Let's do it again. Ready? Oh, I can almost hear the ocean there lapping up against the shore. Now, the reason I wanted to do that was to bring you into the room, but also to remind you that of those 2 breaths you just took, one of those breaths, the oxygen that sustained your body, sustained your life force, was produced where? In the oceans. The oceans are incredible for stimulating our climate, for obviously a habitat for so many incredible species. Without healthy oceans, there is no healthy us. I often like to try and challenge people and say, you think you live on planet Earth? You actually live on planet Ocean. There is more habitable space on our planet beneath the ocean surface than there is on the terrestrial landscapes and in the atmosphere where life exists. So we need to change our perceptions and our views of what the oceans actually represent. So for me, with that understanding from doing my studies in science and sustainability and also being a surfer, I then started looking at the way we were treating the oceans and thinking, how are we getting this so wrong? It seems to me that all we do is throw all the stuff that we don't want anymore into the oceans, and then we just use the oceans to harvest everything and anything we want with no consideration about what it means if we tip the balance. So this is me. I've been in love with the ocean and my beautiful wife and my family, but mostly the ocean since I was your age. I absolutely love the sea. I love living near it. I love surfing, body surfing, snorkeling, scuba diving, sailing. I just love it. To me, the ocean is almost like going home. And if you look at some evolutionary studies, the hypothesis is that life began in the ocean. So maybe there's some truth to that. So I'm really deeply concerned about this growing trend of plastics and waste ending up in the oceans. You've probably heard about it. There's terrible predictions out there like if we don't do anything, by 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the sea than fish. The weight of plastic in the sea will outweigh the weight of fish. And I don't agree with that. I don't want to see that. So it's pretty evident to me we need to change our ways and very quickly. Because currently, every minute, a garbage truck full of plastic ends up in our oceans. It starts on land. It starts with us. We consume, we create waste, and in many parts of the world, waste management simply cannot keep up with the quantity that we're creating. And as we say, the ocean is downhill from everywhere. So when it is discarded, you have a windy day, you have a storm, you have a monsoon, it all flows down our streets, our rivers, stormwater systems, and eventually into the ocean. And that's where this figure, the garbage truck a minute, is actually equated to about 8 million tonnes every year. Every river leads to the sea. And maybe many of you have experienced through travels or experiences what it looks like when you have highly polluted areas. Sometimes in Sydney, you look around and you think, gee, what's the problem, Tim? It looks beautiful. But when you look closely, you definitely find the problem, and we certainly do have problems all across Australia, but in some parts of the world, it's very, very desperate. Very important to point out here that the main reason this is a concern is that plastic doesn't biodegrade. Plastic is made of oil, it's made of petroleum, and we use incredible variety of chemistry to create over 40,000 different types of plastic. But they all share the one common property: they don't biodegrade. So this 8.3 billion tonnes of plastic that we've created since we mass-produced the material in the 1950s is mostly still around. It's in landfills, it's in the environment, it's been burnt where the chemicals still exist in the atmosphere. Only a tiny fraction has been recycled. So this idea that recycling can solve this problem is not true. We simply cannot recycle our way out of this problem. And so when I talk about this idea of plastic being a disconnect, it is simply that. We've used our human ingenuity, our innovation to create this material, but it's incompatible with nature. Nature cannot digest plastic. Even the plastic that ends up inside you, you cannot consume that material. So we really need to rethink the role of plastic in our future, because we cannot keep using these non-biodegradable synthetic materials in such high quantities. Not only does the big stuff have a problem, it also breaks up and breaks into tiny small pieces, microplastics, nanoplastics. The quantity of plastic that we're now learning is entering our bodies every week is a startling 5 grams, about a credit card's worth of plastic that ends up in our bodies every week, and that's mostly because of the air we breathe, the liquids that we drink, and the food that we eat. So that's why I'm here today to tell you about Take 3 for the Sea. This is an organisation that launched 10 years ago with a very simple idea. Imagine if we could get people all over the planet doing something simple to counter this huge problem. So all we ask of you is to take 3 pieces of rubbish when you leave a beach or a park or your school playground, anywhere. And if you do that, you've made a difference, because if enough people do it, it'll stack up to a huge impact. So we're all about inspiring simple actions. You can go beyond your Take 3 and adopt your reusable water bottle or coffee cup or shopping bags. Or maybe you can even try and live a plastic-free or a low-plastic lifestyle. These are all things that we believe are quite simple. But we can show that we have a big impact when you stack up the participation that we've garnered around the world. Over 10 million pieces of plastic are being removed by people just like you all around the world every single year. And that's 129 countries that we've been able to have participation in. If you follow us on Instagram, which I encourage you to do, Take 3 for the Sea, and that's our hashtag, we're over 118,000 hashtags, and they're all over the planet, which gives me so much pride and hope for the future. 129 countries, and that was data from 2017, so hopefully by now we've even increased that even more. What we also do, aside from our social media movement, is we go into schools and we deliver education programs. So we've been into hundreds of schools around Australia and over 350,000 students. So I do encourage you to sign up at our website so we can reach out to you about schools programs, and reach out via email if you're interested. So it really is quite amazing that this small group of people who started this project on the New South Wales Central Coast have grown into this huge global movement all around the world. So where do we want to take our organisation next? Well, we want to radically expand our education program using online tools in the next 3 years to educate 300,000 students. We need more people doing their Take 3 for the Sea so we can remove 30 million pieces of trash. And we want to deliver projects in 300 communities. But more importantly, we need Take 3 to be the stimulus for a massive global project to really solve this problem. So I wanted to give you a bit of a glimpse at where I believe we need to be focusing our sights if we are going to solve this problem. It's so clear to me that if we keep on going with business as usual, our planet, our oceans will suffer, and it's going to make things a great deal harder for us, let alone those millions of innocent creatures that are affected every year. So it's wonderful to see global collaboration now around the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, and we definitely believe and closely aligned to Goals 14 and 17, Life Below Water, and Partnerships for the Goals. What we really need to see is a shift from this idea of a high-waste linear economy to a low-waste circular economy. And I'm going to give you a bit of a glimpse at this idea very soon. We always worship and adopt the idea of the waste zero waste hierarchy. And in this model, you're essentially looking at, well, what is the best use of our behaviours and our design? We need to really think about refusing those items that create waste, so disposable coffee cups, plastic straws, plastic bags, packaging, all these things. If there's a way that we can refuse using them, then we don't create any problems in the first place. And that's going to require us to really rethink the way we do things and redesign the way we do things. But if we can achieve that, then we're really on our way. Of course, we can start to talk about then programs to reduce the amount of waste we create, reuse materials where possible. But when you get down the hierarchy, you realise that the idea of even recycling isn't as preferable as not creating any waste in the first place, because recycling is hugely energy intensive, requires transport around the planet, as well as obviously the huge energy burden of it as well. So we need to really change our thinking. So when I spoke before about this idea of a circular economy, this is a really, really big idea that I'm going to try and make very simple for you. So currently, all the economy of stuff that we adopt and adhere to every day, it's very linear. We take resources from the environment. For example, plastic is made of oil and gas. We then use non-renewable energy to make and transport and sell these items. And then consumers end up with this stuff that really only has a very short life expectancy. You might use a plastic bottle for 20 minutes. You might have a laptop that lasts 3 years. But it's still only a very short cycle, and then the expectation is that you just dispose of it when you're done, and then you go and buy a new item. So that's very linear. With the circular economy, we're looking at nature as our ultimate inspiration. In nature, everything revolves in circles. So a plant grows, a branch might fall off, it'll come back down to the earth, it will decompose, the nutrients will go back into the soil to create new life. So with the circular economy, we're really looking at how we can restructure the economy of stuff so that all the biological nutrients, food waste, anything that's made of organic materials can be composted and go back into biological cycles, and technical nutrients can similarly stay in these perpetual cycles. So I imagine a future where your laptop or your phone has been redesigned in such a way that all the components, all the precious materials can be easily extracted and then put back into the loop to then feed the new smartphone or the new computer that you're utilizing. So this is definitely possible, and there's already many, many wonderful disruptive technologies out there that are capitalizing on the circular economy. One example that we're really excited about is this project called Loop. Woolworths just made an announcement last week that they'll be looking to adopt the Loop system in stores across Australia. This will be containers that are refillable, reusable containers. So your products will be delivered to your home in these containers. When you're finished with them, they'll go back to be sterilised, cleaned, and then refilled. Another young entrepreneur from Australia, Mike Smith, has created ZeroCo. Very similar idea. He looked inside his kitchen cabinet and his laundry cabinet and couldn't believe the amount of plastic bottles for cleaning products that there were. So he thought, well, why can't I design a bottle that you only buy once and then a refill system that are made from ocean plastic? So another wonderful idea there with an innovator, Mike, saying, I've got this. I can help to solve this problem. Other things that you can think about is in your school. How much waste is your school generating each and every day, each and every week? The War on Waste program on ABC found an incredible quantity of waste being produced, and then we were able to use that data to then create very simple solutions to reduce waste. Is it about not bringing any packaging to school in the first place? Looking at your canteen or tuck shop and radically reducing the quantity of plastics and wasteful items that are used there? Or is it about trying to embed better recycling or composting systems? There's a lot that you can do in your schools. But I wanted to leave today's presentation on the note of this young man whose name's Boyan Slat. He's from the Netherlands. When Boyan was 16 years old, he decided he would focus his life and all his efforts on trying to clean up the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. This is a location in the sea where huge quantities of plastic gather on the ocean currents. So at 16 years old, the age of many of you in the room, he said, I've got this, I can do it. He's gone out there, he's raised tens of millions of euros, and he set up a system in the middle of the ocean. And then just 2 weeks ago, he launched a system now where he's going to put these items called interceptors in 1,000 rivers around the world. So just like your Elon Musks, just like your disruptive tech innovators all around the world, this is your problem to solve, and I welcome you to get out there and solve it. Thank you very much.